Welcome to Finance Fixer, Colleen. I'm so glad you're here. You're 35 years old. You have $175,889.53 of debt. You're working a job that pays $21 an hour, and you have monthly bills totaling $991, and you have nothing in investments or in cash. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your financial situation and why?
I'd probably say a -2.
Okay, -2. Tell me a bit more.
So I kind of started this journey. Sorry,
It's okay. Take your time. I get it. It's intimidating. And I really want you to find a lot of pride here in being brave enough to look, because most people are not. Most people know getting into debt's a bad thing. Most people know credit card debt is bad. And for the record, you don't have a lot of credit card debt. You acquired the debt that's supposed to make you wealthy. You didn't acquire the debt that's supposed to make you poor. And it's intimidating, but you have the courage to look at it. You had the courage to fill out the debt eliminator. You'd be surprised how many people get sent this and they run away. Most of them. So I have a lot of respect for you being brave enough to step up and say, I want to look at my finances. We're going to have this conversation. No, it's going to be hard, but this could be step one to you getting yourself into a better place financially.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. No, I appreciate you. I wish every American had the courage you did. My passion is me helping the average person get rich. And I wish every American had the drive. And you do, because you're willing to look at it.
So it all started when I wanted to go to college. It was kind of put in place that after high school, you go to college. If you don't, then you're not going to get a good job. You're not going to get a house. You're not going to fall in love. You're not going to, live the American dream.
Yeah, it's assumed that you're supposed to go to higher education, and definitely as long as you go to college, it'll all work out. That's the promise.
Yes.
But sometimes it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of caveats, and you're young, right? We all pretend that age 18, you're an adult. Congratulations. You absolutely know what's going on in the world. And then all of a sudden, we ask you, what's your career path? What degree do you want to study for 4 years? And how much debt do you want? It is a lot of really significant questions for someone who just turned 18.
I attended community college. I attended community college at 3 different colleges, just because it took me several years to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And finally, after 8 years or so, I received my associate's degree. And I wasn't really in that much amount of debt. I had federal loans. I probably had about $65,000 in federal student loans, which doesn't seem like a lot. Or I'm sorry, it does seem like a lot. I was like, well, it's just gonna go down. I'll repay it.
Yeah, with like you're told you're supposed to, right? You just get the student debt, it magically gets paid off. And you're young. Even though it took you 8 years, right? You're in your mid-20s. You still really don't know the value of money, especially when you're in that education cycle where just another class, just another credit, you're still figuring out what you're trying to do. So please, trust me when I say a lot of people are making big financial decisions in their 20s without knowing the consequences, especially around education.
So I got my associate's degree, and I decided, I wanted to pursue, my passion, which...
Please take a moment and trust me when I say you are not the only one who went down this road. There are so many people in similar positions to you. So I have endless respect for you looking and saying, how do I get out of this? Because I think for a lot of people, it truly, the weight of it. But a lot of people say, I just want to ignore it and pretend it isn't a problem. And you have the courage to step up where so many people don't and say, okay, this is bad, but there has to be a way out. I mean, there is a way out. It's going to be hard work. I mean, to get out of debt, it's two simple parts, and we're going to talk about it. Increase earnings, decrease spending, and then throw money at it. And you can get out of this. It's a journey, though. I would love to hear a bit more about what came next after the associate's degree.
So after my associate's degree, I decided to follow my passion of going to fine art, and I really enjoyed it. You know, the first 2 years were amazing. And actually, in the third and fourth, I mean, the whole experience was just invaluable. But as the year goes on, the first year, it's like, okay, you accumulated some debt. The second year, it's like, well, you're already in this, just you should continue. By the third year, it's like, you know what? You just have to, you need your bachelor's, you need to complete it, and numbers don't really matter if you need to get your bachelor's.
I sympathize where you're coming from here, right? You're in so deep, might as well just keep going. Might as well finish out what you started, and you still really don't know what each dollar really represents.
Exactly.
The 65,000 from your associate's degree still feels foreign. You went on to get your bachelor's, now you have another $100,000 of that, still foreign, still an unknown amount until you finally get your bachelor's, you complete it, and then you start realizing what you can do with it. You finish up getting the bachelor's. How old are you then?
Actually, it was last year.
Last year, age 34. And then what happens?
I get my first job. Actually, I was employed before I graduated, which I was very fortunate with. It was $18 an hour, and it was in production, so it didn't really jive with fine art, even though it was pertaining to digital prints, digital media, but it was still on the production side, so working in the warehouse. I worked there for a little bit, and then I moved on to a different company who unfortunately laid me off in January of this year.
How long were you laid off for?
I was actually unemployed for 6 months, which actually is current. I just started my new job about a week ago.
Congrats on the new job. I'm happy for you. And according to the Plain Talk Money Debt Eliminator, we're looking at about $21 an hour.
That's correct.
And is it a full-time job?
It is.
Are there any overtime opportunities?
I believe so. I hope so.
Does this new job pertain to fine art in any way, or did you just find an opportunity and you seized it?
I leaned back on my previous work experience, which was customer service, and I'm in so it's not pertaining to fine art at all.
The good news, I would say, I'm going to find some good news here. You figured out that you're in a tough spot at age 34. So you're new to this. We're not trying to recover from a decade of ignoring the problem. We're not trying to recover from head in the sand. Within 1 year, you're like, all right, I got a problem here. And we're having this conversation right now. You have the courage to face that you've got a lot of debt and you have not been dragging your feet on this. And you hit the real world, right? Hit the full-time job and you realized, okay, actually, fine art was really expensive, which kind of lives up to the name, if you know what I mean, right? No one sits there and says, wow, fine art's cheap. I mean, look at what these auction prices are. Da Vinci for $5. Like, no, lives up to the name in all aspects. So we have a long journey ahead of us. So let's start going into your debt a little bit more specifically here. Let's start with the medical debt. Tell me how this came about.
It was 2 medical emergencies that occurred, as well as the therapist that I have accumulated over, that's probably a year or 2 worth of bills from them.
Well, you have a very nice therapist who's looking out for you from the sounds of it. So I'm glad that even though this has been a struggle financially, they have a therapist, and I want you to keep that therapist, because at the end of the day, what you're going to undertake is both going to be physically a lot of work, but also it's going to be mentally draining. And having a therapist to help you out along the way is a wonderful thing. I'm a big believer in therapy for pretty much everybody. To be blunt, we all have a million thoughts every day, and to have somebody to help us sort it out, it's a beautiful thing. Big believer in therapy. Love that you're seeing a therapist and love that you're continuing to see a therapist. Okay, so we have a 1 or 2 time medical situation. but it's not repeating. We have a therapist who's very generous. And then we have the credit cards. How did we get into this credit card debt situation?
So I have two credit cards. One is with a financial institute where I actually had debt from, it was probably like a $1,500 that just I had accumulated throughout the years. And then when I opened up a checking account, they said, well, you can get this credit card. You can also, roll over your debt if you'd like. And I was like, well, that's a really good idea. I can just transfer it and then pay it off. And it unfortunately, I was doing really well on it, but then, life circumstances occurred and it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, it's the classic credit card move. Balance transfer cards only exist because they're profitable for credit card companies. They know if you pay that 3 to 5% upfront fee, that at the end of the day, you probably aren't going to figure out how to really get out of the credit card debt. So they get their fee, and then it's back to getting that interest rate. Additionally, there's a point where credit card companies won't let you balance transfer anymore. They know that this game of moving around debt is not good forever, so they eventually cut everybody off. Don't feel bad that you fell for the classic bounce transfer and then life punches you in the gut. Happens to tons of people. By the end of this call, we're going to talk about how to make sure that does not happen again. So the Wings card is the random accumulation of debt. How did you get into credit card debt with Chase?
I had to make a large purchase for school. So I put that expense on there, and then I have been kind of bad with that card.
Okay, tell me more about being bad with that card.
So I have had instances where I buy something and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the 6 months no interest, and then I make the credit card payments, and I am trying to pay it off within that amount of time.
And do you succeed every time?
Not every time.
Let's take a step back and just look at what's happening. Everybody wants to give you money. Every single person is so excited to give you money and then charge you interest for it. Where has that left everybody? Well, you are stressed. 1 year after you get your fine arts degree, you're realizing, oh my God, this whole system screwed me. Everybody else, on the other hand, is getting fat bonuses. They're like, another victim, please, right? Whether it's the college administrators who get paid really well, whether it's the credit card companies who make bank, whether it's the healthcare system, they're doing great. The only person here who seems mildly ethical is the therapist, who is letting you run up this bill over a year or two and lets you keep coming in. Only person I'm sympathetic for is the therapist, who it seems to be a saint. If we look at the situation, though, in totality, you're getting screwed even though you're apparently doing what you're supposed to do. So now it's time to start doing what they don't want you to do. It's time to break out of this situation and take control. And you can do it. Yeah, get fired up. Get angry. Get mad. Let it fuel you, because you are going to go on a journey of vengeance. You're going to take control. You deserve better than to have $175,000 of debt. At the end of the day, you deserve to be debt-free, wealthy. You deserve to be able to retire. You deserve so much better than this. And the only person who's going to get that for you is you. So from here on out, we're going to treat all these people, except the therapist, you're good. But everybody else here is an enemy, and we're going to purge this debt situation. Step by step. Yeah. Are you with me? There we go. I like it. I like it. And there are going to be overwhelming days ahead. There are going to be times where you're feeling like you're losing hope, and I want you to pull this back up, our conversation here. Get that vengeance back in your veins. Get mad, get angry, and get through this entire debt situation again. So we need a strategy. And so I'm going to give you a strategy. Step 1, first $1,000 you make, that's yours. I'm sick of no money in your bank account. I bet you're sick of it too. I bet it pisses you off every time you go there. I bet you cringe every time you look at your bank account. So we're done having it at zero. It's going to be $1,000 going forward. $1,000 gives you a buffer from the world's stupid emergencies. Car breaks down, medical bill, gives you a buffer. So no more racking up credit card debt to deal with whatever life throws your way. $1,000. Going to feel good. How do you think you're going to feel when you see 4 digits in your bank account?
Pretty good. I'd want to just hoard it.
Yeah, and that's okay because you're going to hoard it. That 1,000 isn't going anywhere. That is your mini emergency fund. You only touch it when things get bad. Imagine your car breaks down, $700 to repair it. You spend this $1,000, you spend 700 of it, bringing you down to 300. And then do you know what you do? You bring it back up to 1,000 as fast as possible. That's right. We are done with $0 in your bank account. We're going to make sure going forward it's always 1,000 unless there's an emergency. And then we replace one emergency with another. You resolve whatever the immediate financial emergency is. And then your new financial emergency is get your bank account back up to 1,000. You deserve to have $1,000 in your bank account. And you're going to do that with your first paycheck because you just got a new job and it pays well enough that you should be able to have $1,000 left over from that paycheck so you can shove it in that bank account. Done. That's your 2-week goal. Your 2 weeks, you're going to have 4 figures in that account.
That's pretty exciting because I always feel like I need to just pay everyone back.
And you will. I don't want you to stop on the minimums. We are going to pay everybody back. When you take on debt, you are pledging to pay it back, and the goal will be to pay this all back. You're going on that journey. So if it ends up, because of the minimums and bills, taking 4 weeks, fine. It won't take longer than 4 weeks. When I looked at the numbers, at max, this takes 4 weeks. You might be able to do it in 2. And our goal is to pay everyone back. We're not going to be shortcutting here. We're getting the job done. And you can get the job done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So after we have $1,000 in the bank account, we're going straight to the monster. We're going to get through the debt. Every single extra dollar you get is going out the debt. And we're going to use a debt strategy called the debt snowball. The debt snowball says organize your debts from lowest balance to highest balance and pay them off. The goal for you here is just to wipe out all these small creditors. You shouldn't have debt at the pharmacy for $24. You shouldn't have whatever Fairview Express is for $45. Every time you get an extra dollar after your 1,000 in the bank and you're keeping up with the minimums, you're just going to chuck it at the lowest balance. Within a couple months, maybe half a year at most, you should just get this down to the student loans. Even your therapist is going to be caught up on the payments, and that's going to be great. I promise you it's going to be a lot nicer when we're just staring at federal loan and 4 Sallie Mae loans, and that's it. No more juggling Chase, Wings, Therapist, Fairview Pharmacy, Fairview Express, Health Fairview, Fairview Health. Somehow you have them mixing up. Oh, God, it's such a mess. Health East Medical Transport, MedCredit. We are done with all of this garbage. We are going to wipe it out in half a year. And at that point, you have student debt, you have $1,000 in your bank account. And that's going to be done half a year or so by the end of 2023. You're going to be there. And then at that point, we're just going to keep with the debt snowball. Your interest rates on your debts are all very similar. So I'm not particularly worried about any outliers here. Your student debt right now ranges from 10 to roughly 13%. Your private loans could potentially be refinanced. But given that they're 10% and the Federal Reserve has cranked up interest rates, I'm not sure how much better of a percent you can get right now. Is it worth looking into? Certainly. Double check the fees, double check the interest rates. But the private loans are probably stuck. But even if you drop it to 8%, 7% in a consolidated loan, that would be a win. To tackle the debt, we got to increase income, decrease bills. Let's talk about the income. You're making $21 an hour pre-tax, with a little bit of estimating on my part because you put $21 on the Plain Talk Money Debt Eliminator because you haven't started your work yet, so you can't just look at how much it really translates to. Pre-tax, you're making a little over $3,000. So let's just say you're going to make $3,000 or $2,900 every single month going forward. You're going to want to try to crank that up. And that's going to be frustrating to do. It's going to be hard work because the system basically said if you work 40 hours a week, you should be fine, especially if you get a bachelor's. Unfortunately, as you found out the hard way, it's not necessarily true. So you're going to still want to find ways to earn more money. The best would be a part-time job. If that doesn't work, gig economy. While you're looking for a part-time job that might work, do the gig economy. Even if you make an extra $20 a day off Uber, That's still $20 more that you can throw at the situation. And the faster you start paying it off, the less interest accrues, which means the overall amount you have to pay off actually is less. The longer you drag this out, the more the interest accrues, and that interest starts making its own interest, which then starts making its own interest. Your goal should be to try to get an additional $1,000 a month, which is going to be ambitious, but you really should try for it. An additional $1,000 a month means that this could potentially be paid off entirely 5-ish years. And the interest rate's going to be tough. Maybe it's 6 years. But if we can drag out an extra $1,000 in income here, potentially by age 40, 41, you're debt free. And this is behind you. Now let's talk about the bills. Your bill situation's actually pretty good. Your rent and mortgage, which is typically the giant bill, the horrible bill, is at 0. Tell me about your living situation.
I live with my husband. We own our home, and he has been paying the mortgage for the past 10 years. Sorry.
Take a moment if you need it.
My husband has helped me significantly by paying the rent. And that's why it's at 0, even though I feel horrible about it.
You feel horrible about it. Tell me more about that feeling, because I personally do not believe you should feel horrible about it. So let's dive in a little deeper here.
I feel like I should, help pay for, the roof I'm living under.
You feel you should contribute more.
Yes, I
Is
feel
that
like
right?
I should contribute more.
So, from a financial perspective, that's not how this works. When you are married, it's a team game. You and your husband are on one team, and the world's against you. That's how it works. Period. So you should not feel guilty about having your husband take care of the mortgage. It's a financial decision for the team. If you're getting married, or are married in this case, there are more significant decisions and things you're going to have to work through than who pays the mortgage. So I want you to give up that mentality. I really want you to move past it, because from here on in, this has to be a team game. When you marry someone, it's a partner in crime situation. You're in it together, thick and thin. So please do not feel guilty about him picking up the mortgage. You're in bad financial shape. Of course he should help you out. He's your husband. And what you can do to help him out is focus on your financial situation and help get that under control. And as he needs help, you help him. And as you need help, he helps you. It's how marriage works. So I would really encourage you to begin letting go of that feeling, because marriage doesn't work well if everyone's feeling guilty about money all the time. This isn't good. This just isn't a healthy thing. I'm not a marriage counselor, but to me, that's a real bad sign. Should be a firm foundation where two people are in it together. There is 0% chance you can do this alone. Not because of a bill perspective, but from the perspective of you go to your husband and say, I need to work more and spend less. And if he doesn't buy in, you're in the marriage is in a lot of trouble. But if you go to him and you say, I'm going to work more and spend less because this debt is hanging over my head, it's hanging over your head because we're in this together, we got to wrap it up. And he says, yeah, we've got to wrap it up and I'll help you. I'll be there to support you. Then you're going to do great and you can get through this. What do you think about that lecture of sorts about marriage from somebody who is not a marriage counselor? Full disclaimer.
I really appreciate it. That's getting an outside perspective I think is crucial in this situation and in other situations as well. But this is, it really helps. And I thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. That's the whole point of Finance Fixer. My goal here is to help people see the light, see the path that the system doesn't want you to take to get you from feeling like you're hopeless to being financially successful, having money to your name, having investment accounts, making passive income, showing you the forbidden path, the path of success. Now let's look a little bit more at the bills. Overall, your bills were really reasonable because you don't have that rent and mortgage. I did have a couple questions here. You're spending $400 on groceries. Is that right?
It's a rough estimate, but yeah, I'd probably say so.
What grocery store are you shopping at?
To get the cheapest, I shop at a couple of different stores. So it's going to be Aldi, Walmart, and if we can't get any like specialty items, probably at I don't know if you have them Cub.
I don't have Cub, but I know Aldi and Walmart, you're doing the right stuff. Are you paying for the grocery bill for both you and your spouse?
Yes.
As for your spouse contributing more to your financial situation, that's a conversation for you to have with him. I do not know your full breakdown of how you and your spouse figure out who pays what, how the mortgage influences who pays groceries. I would encourage you to find every opportunity you can to squeeze money out of that grocery bill if you're going to keep being the one paying it. We're talking lentils, we're talking rice, we're talking beans, we're talking oatmeal, just things to drive it down. Every little bit helps here. Who is your phone provider?
That would be T-Mobile.
Okay. You may want to research cheaper phone providers. For example, Mint Mobile is a discount carrier that uses the T-Mobile network. So same network, cheaper price. That's a way to squeeze potentially another $50 a month out of your phone. I like that you have health insurance. I like that you have car insurance. You'd be surprised how many people try to skip on the insurance here. And that's just a ticking time bomb. That's one fine. That's like, if you don't have insurance, that's one emergency from setting you back dramatically. But you have health insurance, you have car insurance, love it. Your subscriptions are reasonable. You have a cheap gym membership, an Adobe Creative Cloud, and whatever deal you got in Adobe Creative Cloud is great. $2 a month, unbelievable. Mine's not $2 a month. So happy that that's working out for you. Going down to eating out, I see $100 there. What I would say about eating out is it needs to become even more of a luxury. To be honest, $100 a month isn't bad for eating out. But in your situation, crank it down even more. Maybe this is my emotional side getting the best of me. I know the financial gurus would say, take it down to zero for 5 years. I understand that sometimes you got to eat out. Sometimes you need to give yourself a little breathing room. But it really should be no more than once a month eating out, if that. It needs to be a treat. Okay. Your gas bill is fine. It's $80. I'm assuming that's just commuting. And you own your car, which is, by the way, great. I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you. You would be so shocked how many people literally give up their retirement so they can own a car. People don't realize that if you put $30,000 into an investment account and let it compound for 40 years, it's over $1 million, right? Americans drive their retirement away. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling pretty optimistic to even have it spoken that it's going to be paid off in such a short amount of time, you know, 5 to 6 years or so. And I think I just really have to, hunker down and just really apply myself and look at the bigger picture and understand that this is really important and it's affecting all aspects of my life. And I need to, take control of it and that I can do this. And you're really inspiring, and your positivity is contagious.
Well, it should be contagious. And anytime you're feeling down, you just play the video again. The plan doesn't change. And life will throw emergencies and curveballs your way. And you and your spouse together will get through it. And it's going to be a bumpy road. There's going to be hurdles that come up that you weren't expecting. But you have a plan. There is hope here. And it's going to require a lot of work. But I believe in you, Colleen. I'm optimistic about you. I'm optimistic you are not somebody who puts their head in the sand. You know this is bad. You had the opportunity to come on the show. And you said, you know what? I'm taking it. After you get for the debt, you get to all the fun bits, the really good stuff, the part that people dream of, right? You get to build up a giant emergency fund. No more $1,000 in your bank account. Now we have tens of thousands of dollars there to deal with every emergency. And then you get to start investing. You get to make passive income. Instead of you owing Chase money, you own Chase stock. Chase owns you money, right? You get to flip the script. This is what they don't want you to know. And that's ahead. But we got to get through this hurdle. And you can get through this hurdle. And you can inspire other people who are in similar situations as well. Colleen, do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't. I can't really think of anything. You answered the questions that I didn't even think I'd have.
Hey, that's what I do. I make sure to get people the knowledge that the system doesn't want them to know, so they can get ahead of the system, so that they can start owning the system instead of the system owning them. Thank you so much for coming on Finance Fixer. I believe in you. Stay focused. You can do this. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate you.